Welcome to another edition of Talk Stocks Small Cap Interview, where we provide corporate access to small cap Canadian listed stocks. In today's interview, we get some time with Sasha Grujicic, the brand spanking new CEO of NowVertical Group. He was recently appointed through a shock resignation of the previous guy. We wanted a chance to get to know him and ask him some direct questions. Make sure to read our disclaimer. And with that, let's jump in and meet Sasha.
Hey, welcome everybody to another edition of Talk Stocks podcast. Today, we're lucky to have Sasha, the brand new CEO for NowVertical Group, with us today. Hey, Sasha, how you doing?
Doing tremendous. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Well, I'm really excited to have you with us. There's been obviously quite a bit of activity sort of going on with NowVertical. Lots going on. And you're sort of newer in this role. You've obviously been with the company for some time. I know it's a young company, but you've been there really helping to sort of mold what it is today. Yep. But maybe we could just start off and maybe you could explain a little bit about who you are, or what you've been up to, what your background is for those that don't know.
Sure. Well, thanks for the time. Thanks for the opportunity to chat. It's been a pretty busy couple of weeks thus far in this new role, but really excited about what we have and starting to engage a little bit more with folks like yourself and our shareholders and our stakeholders, beyond what I've been doing with the company for the past 18 months. So I guess a little bit of background on me. So, from a professional perspective, graduate from Laurier University. So I'm originally from the West End of Toronto, and lived and worked in the UK and the US and Canada, and spent a lot of time at a company called Aegis Media. So Aegis Media was a marketing services holding company that was building a global network of kind of media and digital services providers and technology providers, starting in 2006 in earnest. So I was part of the team that kind of led the global digital network build out, and did that in the UK, in the US, and in Canada for about 13 years. And we had a really successful exit, and being a part of that team was huge for me and huge for us in selling that business to Dentsu. So Dentsu is a huge Japanese kind of holding company, and we did a 3.6 billion pound exit in 2012, 2013 time. And it was really neat to be a part of that and be a part of the kind of the foundational team that built out that global network. So M&A has always been kind of, true to me and my experience, and specifically in technology and understanding how these things can come together and knit together to create value. So I did that for about 13 years. I was in the Canadian operations for Dentsu and Aegis Media previous to that, and kind of turned around the operations there. So grew that revenue base tenfold from about, call it give or take less than 20 million and unprofitable to almost 200 million and quite profitable. It was one of our global success stories at Dentsu, and left in 2019 and really dove into deep tech. So a couple of years working with a company out the west coast of Canada that was doing work in quantum computing, advanced kind of machine learning application design, kind of the bleeding edge of computation, and really looking at how those forms of applications and technologies could impact industries and governments. And that was happening on the world stage, right? So it's highly specialized set of teams and scientists and physicists and all kinds of craziness. And came back into contact with Darren, so the previous CEO and co-founder, in 21, and was like, hey, I'm doing this thing at NowVertical. It's big data. It's kind of similar to what we did at Aegis, and at Dentsu. You want to come have a look? And I came over and had a look and started to build the architecture, and came over full time in December of 21. And then as chief operating officer and then president at the start of this year, and then jumped into the big seat a couple of weeks ago. So, that's me in a nutshell. I guess there's, lots of gray hairs and late nights in multiple time zones that kind of have prepared me a little bit for this role. But the way I see this is where my whole kind of career and professional life has been leading to. This is where the stakes really are being played, and this is the end game for all of this stuff. It sits in this world of artificial intelligence in industry and in government, and that's what we're building, and that's why I'm so excited to be here.
Hey, excellent. Well, thanks very much for a bit of an overview. Pretty diverse background. Sounds like you've been kind of prepping for this role for the last 15 years or so. So that's good to hear.
20. I'm a bit older than
oh yeah, not too many gray hairs just yet. So obviously you kind of touched on it a little bit. There was a resignation of someone, that seemingly is pretty key to the business.
Mm-hmm.
So when those things happen, they can sometimes, shake the confidence of shareholders. I think we've seen a little bit of that happen here. Obviously, the stock has continued to drift down a little bit since the announcement. What can you sort of say, about this? What would you like to sort of tell shareholders, at this sort of juncture?
Yeah, sure. So, look, I joined this company with the intention to be in this role at some point in time, and that point in time came at the end of the first quarter. So we delivered a really strong first quarter. We produced profitability for the first time. And look, businesses require different leaders at different stages of their development. And we're operating across 5 continents with 250 plus customers off the back of 12 acquisitions. And we've got a wide range of technologies and solutions providers and resources. And it just requires a different skill set at a different time. Darren was 100% the right guy to go from zero to here. And I intentionally joined this company to do this job at some point in time, and now is the time, pardon the pun. And look, we have to respond to the way in which that's, the market is, especially as a publicly traded company. The environment and the circumstances in which that we exist today is fundamentally different from the market and the conditions in which, we are, they founded the company. And we got to adapt to that. And that's just part of being a public company. And my skill set and my background and my experience set is probably the right leadership skill set for the stage of development that we are in. And, but we have Darren's full support. I mean, he supports me. He supported me throughout my time here. He's a huge champion of mine. We'd always talked about this happening at some point in the future. And it just made sense for us to do it now. And, it's something that in hindsight, I wish we had telegraphed a little bit better communications, handled the external relations side of it a little bit more actively. But hindsight is 2020. But, we have his support. He's going to be a long-term shareholder. We know that. He's a huge proponent of us at Now. And, we also have it goes beyond Darren and I. That's the thing, is that we have some of the world's biggest companies are super invested in our success, right? We've got technology partners like Google and AWS and Snowflake and Click, who all really care about us as a company. We've got tier 1 banks, which are hugely invested in us. We've got the government of Canada that's invested in us. We've got an amazing board that's invested in our success. It comes down to, it's much more than just who I am and my experience and Darren's experience. It's a team. It's a global team of 600 plus people. Like, the future is so bright for us, and what we're building is the right thing for the market. And I'd rather just show it through our results. I would rather our shareholders see our performance and see what we're able to deliver, and kind of let the business speak for itself.
Hey, that's great. Thanks for running through that.
Of course.
Something that I don't think I'm the only one out there, but when I go to your corporate website and sort of read through about the company, there's a lot of sort of generalized sort of wordsmithing, buzzy sort of terms. But would you mind just sort of diving in a little bit more about what you've acquired a bunch of businesses. You guys have been flying and making rapid acquisition.
Sure.
What are some of those acquisitions? Where do you kind of fit in the sort of tech stack? What's your sort of core business? Maybe you could get into specifically what NowVertical is all about.
Sure. So what we in essence do, and what we're focused on, is just enabling AI for industry and government. And there are 4 key barriers or challenges to being able to deploy artificial intelligence, commercially or within government structures. So the first is data, right? Most companies and governments have no idea where their data is. They don't know if it's secure. They don't know if it's in compliance. they're paying, millions of dollars of hosting fees and retention fees around data sets that are incredibly important as inputs into any type of artificial intelligence application. So that's one of the big pinch points we solve for. And we've made critical acquisitions like Exonar in the UK to facilitate the acceleration of that understanding and that input. The second thing is around resources. So most companies are talent starved in technology in general, but when you get into data science and machine learning and the applications that are ultimately creating this transformative value, with what that means as AI in industry, they're really starved for talent. So, for us, we're building a global organization of really deep talent that can cover all time zones and, frankly, in a really efficient manner. And we solve for that for our customers. The next thing is around risk. So risk is a huge issue with technology and data. We see the massive fines being levied against organizations that are not properly, taking care of PII. And when you think about artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence models in industry and government, the risk profile goes up exponentially if you don't understand what your inputs are, how those models are being created. So we solve for that. We've got solutions that are both technology and service-based solutions which solve for that risk. And the final piece is just a really simple one, which is use case, right? If this stuff's not creating value or positive returns for our customers, then it's not really useful. Not everybody needs a chatbot. Not everybody needs, custom content creation by merging, 1920s Elon Musk post, pictures into memeable, shareable creative assets. Some people are worried about pricing. Some people are worried about manufacturing. Some people are worried about credit risk. Some people are worried about, effectiveness of drugs. Like those are the problems that, we're working with our customers to solve for through the application of really simple like technology and services. Some of those technologies are ours. Some of those technologies are our partners. And the services are the expertise that can bring all that stuff together to build AI in industry and government. So it's a tough one to articulate in honest terms, like snappy buzzwords or calling something a .ai doesn't really, do a service to the work product we generate. And I wish we could talk more about our actual kind of work product because it is so powerful, but it's huge. It's generating huge competitive advantages for our customers. So we can't like scream from the rooftops about, we've generated huge mitigation of risk for companies, or we've improved the yields that they've had on their investments, or we've solved, pricing versus, in a global market setting through the application of machine learning to be able to, optimize pricing, which is a huge pain in the butt for a lot of manufacturers. So like these things are formative applications in industry and in government. And I can't even talk about the stuff we're doing with the U.S. government because one, I'm not allowed to know because I'm Canadian, but two is, we have a cleared entity in the U.S. that's working on a lot of the scientific research, with some of the Department of Defense and so forth. So I know the trick with marketing here is try to distill that so it's totally understandable, but some of it's not. It's not as easy to pick up unless, without doing it a disservice. So, if I were to summarize it, it's just like we've got software, we've got our software, we've got our partner software, and we've got people that are solving these 4 critical bottlenecks.
Well, that's great. Excellent. Thanks for giving us an overview on the business. I think that clears up a lot of things. Maybe at some point, I know you've got a laundry list of a million things. Maybe at some point you can turn your attention to your IR site and tighten it up a little bit with a little bit more specific, being a bit more specific in terms of what it is. I think it would help a bit. Maybe just turning to sort of like your sort of new role. I know you don't want to probably talk too much about yourself, but I'm going to ask a few other questions.
Please.
The role of being a CEO of both an operating business, which is big and diverse and vast like yours. You're still dealing with like the integration of all of these roll-ups and with having hundreds of people on all these different continents and hundreds of customers, there's probably a ton to sort of do. But then there's also the second hat that you have to wear, which is, the public, dealing with a public company, dealing with shareholders, dealing with investment bankers and brokers, firms and funds and things like that, stakeholders. Do you think that you're prepared for both roles?
Well, I think so, because I think having the benefit of being here for 18 months and building an operational framework and an operating team for scale, enables at least me to turn my attention to this kind of new arena of engaging with shareholders and stakeholders in capital markets and have conversations like these with you. I mean, we've got a tremendous deep leadership team here, and we have it at the operating company level within the executive team. We've got a tremendous board with a deep set of experiences and expertise that support us. But we also have leaders in all the operating units that are executing against a plan and are collaborating with one another, on a weekly basis to be able to solve some of these problems together. And that's part of the appeal of these companies coming into our group, is they get to work alongside peers and folks that are incredibly proficient in the work product that they do and can support them in some of the work product that each of them execute. And taking this new role and stepping into this new arena is kind of like a natural extension of the work that we're doing, because it's just trying to surface the actual work product, and bring that to light in the conversations that we're having with those stakeholders. And this isn't us just adding a .ai at the end of our URL. This isn't us just going from.
Have you done that? Have you done that?
No, we haven't. But it's we're not a candy company that's now an AI candy company. I mean, we're a vertical intelligence company. We've been talking about this and working on this for a while, and it's all about kind of surfacing that to the top and helping people understand what that means. And we've got a unique offering that's highly differentiated. It's real. It's got real customers. It's got real revenues. It's got real resources. And I want the business to step out in front of those conversations. I want people to understand what it is that we're doing and the power of what we're doing for our customers and for our companies, and join, continue to work with us to be able to deliver and execute against this plan. The future of this company is so bright, and the market opportunity is so large. It gives me chills to be able to sit here and talk about that, and being able to share some of the kind of the real world impacts of the things in which that we're doing as a part of shareholder communications or stakeholder communications, again, is just a natural extension of it. And all I can say is that the future of this company, like all the instances of like building, first like Web 1.0, 2.0, digital transformations, and now big data and analytics, it's all coming together and converging into this arena. And we have the right pieces in which to execute against that in a meaningful way. And we're competing with some of the world's biggest companies. We're also partnering with the world's biggest companies. If our shareholders can get excited about that, if they can get as excited as I am about doing the work, I mean, we're going to prosper together. And that's why it doesn't feel like a two hats, if you will. It just feels like almost bringing more people into the conversations we're having on a daily basis, and talking about the work product and impacts that we're having, and recognizing the size of the prize. I mean, this is the end game. I'm really not kidding when I say this. Like, what we're trying to do here as a company is build an organization that's going to enable our partners and our customers to fundamentally transform the way in which that they do business. People alongside, intelligent machines working together to yield huge returns for themselves, offer huge competitive advantage. Like that's what's at stake here. And if I can impart any of that enthusiasm about where we're going to our shareholder base in terms in which that they can understand, which is more a deficiency on my part than anybody else's, then I think that the job will kind of, I feel like it'll work itself out.
Great. I think that's a good answer. So how's it been going, sort of meeting some of the stakeholders? I would imagine that's probably been a pretty decent chunk of the role here is to sort of get out, and I know you probably knew some of them in your role in an ops role, but now you're sort of doing it yourself, and having them sort of seek their support for you in your new role. How have those meetings and discussions been going?
I mean, I think they've been going as expected, right? So the messaging and the transition, it felt sudden to many people, and we did not the best job of bringing people into those discussions. So, a lot of them are just asking the same questions that you're asking here. So I appreciate the opportunity to jump on here and have that chat and talk a little bit about kind of how that came to be and some of the thinking behind it, and the help share the understanding that, we have huge support behind us as a company, and with our shareholder base, including, Darren and the rest. And look, I understand that people are kind of, there's trepidation around transition like this, especially, relatively unknown guy stepping into the role and trying to step in and have these types of conversations. They're nuanced. Different people came in at different times into the story, and all I can share with them is that we have a plan. We're executing against that plan. I come from a place of very strong discipline around capital allocation and uses of funds. We look at efficiencies around our operations really seriously. We demonstrated that in the first quarter in pulling almost $600K, out of costs. We're going to continue to execute on that. We want to be into a fully self-sustained position where there's opportunistic injections of capital through the way in which that we operate. But we were just trying to hasten that point of full sustainability.
Sounds good. So I'm going to ask you sort of a bit of an easy one, and then we'll dive into some tougher ones here. Expectations can be a little unfair on new management, and new management that's literally been dropped into the frying pan like you have. I would say, man, next time around, you guys have some financials to release. Could you just do it without the drama? Last two have been a little bit too much drama, I got to say. It's really like sell the news event. I got bamboozled yet again. But anyways, very nice to meet you. But what sort of expectations and asks do you have for shareholders? Maybe would you be seeking like a bit of patience? Like what expectations and asks would you have?
Well, thanks for the feedback, and definitely agree with you that we're looking for minimal drama on our next earnings call and sets of communications. Definitely got a few gray hairs after that one. So, look, I don't have expectations for our shareholders. I don't have any asks for them per se. I mean, I just know what we're building, and we're building a business that's in a really strong sector. I've been in the operations of the business for 18 months now. I know exactly what we're executing and how we're executing it. We're going to come in and execute with discipline. We're going to operate with speed and diligence and decisiveness based on my experience. I've done this before. We've done this on a global scale. I've worked with different markets around the world. The vision remains the same. We have a really strong baseline in which to execute strong organic growth with. Execution is paramount, but we actually have the team to do this. And what we're focused on with our team and the board's support is we're going to execute to the plan, and we're going to acquire strategically. That's going to be accretive, and we're going to continue to be diligent and prudent with how we use our capital. We're going to look at efficiencies. We're going to continue to improve operating margins, gross profit margins. We have so many levers available to ourselves in the business, and this is what I think doesn't get enough light, is that we have so many different ways in which to improve performance across the global group, both in terms of supporting the operating model or the corporate group at the center, but then also within the operating units themselves, and the level of collaboration that we have across this group to support one another only affords us more and more opportunities to do different things. We're not in a position where we only have one kind of source of improvement or opportunity. We have many, many, many levers to pull, and we're going to investigate and be diligent in pulling those to support the growth in reflection to the way the market is. And we're not doing this as a private company. We're doing this as a public company. So the expectations in many respects are higher of us, and we're very mindful of that. And so I don't have any ask per se. I just think that if people are bought into what we're building, like we're building it, we're doing AI in industry and government. If you want exposure into that as an investor, I would highly suggest that you continue to be, continue to participate here, because, the size of the prize is humongous. Like, it's great.
Excellent. Well, thanks for going over that. I certainly would hope that shareholders would be a little patient and give you a chance, because it can be a bit tough, hopping in the way that you did. But good on you. Maybe
Thanks.
Perhaps you're even better for the role, just because of your 18 months of sort of operations and being a bit more involved on sort of ops. Now the CEO really knows, has his finger on the pulse and knows what's going on with the rest of the business. And
yeah, it's kind of weird talking about. Oh, sorry.
No worries. I was gonna get into a zinger here. Sorry, but not sorry. I think people want to know. Roll ups. They need, especially ones that are not going to be done 100% with stock. I don't know if we want roll-ups to be done 100% with stock, unless it's escrowed or earned out for a long period of time. But a company's going to need cash.
Yep.
You guys obviously have to be a little careful there. We've got harder sort of markets, interest rates going up. Mm-hmm. Equity financings are a little far and few between. People are looking at the bottom line more than they are just top line these days. But would you say that the strategy, should shift now to better sort of integrating what you've got? You talked about, I think it was 12 acquisitions over 18 months. I don't know of many businesses that would be quicker in terms of M&A, and that's very impressive. Probably speaks to your chops of 20 years of M&A before. Or does the business plan sort of remain unchanged, and that is just continue rolling up interesting entities as fast as you can? What do you speak to that, and what can you say? Obviously, we don't want to get too much into anything you're not forward looking, but just
Sure.
What do you say about that?
Well, look, I think that the foundation of the business is really strong. I mean, it's kind of funny talking about fundamentals in AI, given it's just a relatively new space. But the fundamentals of our business are really strong, and the opportunity in which to dive deeper into the organic growth and the integrated selling and the cross selling and the operating margin improvements and the gross profit margin improvements. I mean, there's a ton of work to be done there. I mean, we've been around for 2.5 years, right? So it's, we're not this is not 15 years of a company's existence, right? So, the way we look at our approach is maybe a bit more balanced, right? Where it's looking at the existing operations, organic developments. Part of the reason why we've invested into the central operating function the way we have is built off the experience that I've had at the holding company level. If you just try to hold these assets, they don't compound in value. You don't end up getting the whole being greater than the sum of the parts. You need to invest in that. And that's critical. And we do that in a very disciplined way. We're looking at bringing down our monthly burn associated with those investments. And the commercial integration starts on day one and has started on day one. I mean, I'd love to bring everybody into our weekly sales meetings, our singular HubSpot instance, save for our US Gov group and one other unit that's still onboarding into that platform. We look at pipeline sufficiency, all this stuff. Like there's a ton of organic growth focused development and integration growth development that's been happening over the past 12 months in earnest. I'd say, 18 months is where we're just, starting to form kind of the strategy associated with this. But the vision remains the same. And I would just say that any acquisitions that we evaluate just go through a heightened level of diligence to meet the requirements, right? So we're very mindful of our balance sheet. We don't want to blow up our debt stack. Everything that we bring on board has minimal levels of dilution, right? We don't want to dilute our shareholder base. We don't want to, to do, full stock-based acquisitions at this stage. I mean, never say never, but that's just not the focus right now. And look, we have to be adaptive. Like, this is the thing that I think precipitated the transition here. Is like we have to understand the context in which that we're executing within. We cannot execute with ignorance towards the way in which that the macroeconomic climate exists. We're a public company. We're doing this all out in the open. So the vision remains the same. It's just the level of diligence and scrutiny on these, this huge pipeline of acquisitions that we have available to ourselves is just heightened, and it has different terms and different constructs. And the reality is that the work we're trying to do in AI is real. We have an approach that's unique. It's modular. We're not trying to jam everybody through into one technology or one solution. We're cross-selling. We're doing consolidated go-to-market, client expansion, integrated selling. Like, there's all these facets of growth to the business that are at our disposal currently. And then everything, above and beyond that with regards to strategic M&A just benefits from that foundation. We've got this delivery model that services all time zones. And, we see the future as being really, really bright for us. So the vision kind of remains unchanged, but we're adaptive to the conditions. Hopefully that answers the question.
I think so. I think you said it's going to be a bit of a balanced approach, which I think is fiscally responsible, and you guys have a lot to integrate still of what you just acquired in order to figure out how you can get some organic growth and get some cost savings and, like you said, cross-sell opportunities. So no, that's great.
But it's already happened. I guess more to the point is that stuff's all happened and it's happening. And there's integrated selling of our technologies, with some of our service solution partners. We've got many of our service partners now working with our global delivery model to improve operating margins. We're doing, joint selling. We've got our partners at EDC working, sourcing global companies to work with us because, they see what we're building as being unique, and they're a champion of ours. We have our lenders in TD and NVB who are, right there by our side, hugely invested in our success. Like, it's not for lack of opportunity to execute on the inorganic side. It's just identifying what's the discipline and the approach that we want to take to that to maximize the accretive nature of it and accelerate our kind of point of self-sustainability, so that we're less reliant on any external sources.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Turning to another thing, there's been a bit of discussion, I'd say, the last couple of months about this whole idea of like insiders purchasing shares.
Sure.
When a stock, there was, again, a little bit of drama around your last financing. The company needs to raise capital. You guys are, a small cap company with large cap ambitions. You're going to need to raise capital in order to get there. I don't think that shareholders on a roll-up would want to be completely diluted out entirely through just stock-based acquisition, and you're going to need cash to sort of operate. So you're not going to hear massive criticism from me on that. But when stocks go down, you're called NowVertical, but you've been in now descent on your share price.
Sure.
So, and there's been this kind of discussion about, maybe would insiders sort of step in? I know there's been a little bit of that here, like recently. Do you see insider buying as being something that's important to send a message to shareholders? And do you like, maybe personally yourself, I don't know if you speak for everybody else, but do you personally plan to acquire any more if you can?
Yeah, so I'm not an investment manager on behalf of our board and the rest of our management team, but I've been buying in the market, and I know others have as well. And it's an endorsement, it's a commitment of their belief in us and our business. And I'm a Raptors guy, so like I've got the Freddie Van Fleet, bet on yourself kind of chip on my shoulder. So I'm of that mindset, but I think that that's one data point. Like insider buying is one data point on the ways in which that the board and the senior management team is creating value for us. And it's,
well, if I must just say, anecdotally, there's another company that I'm a shareholder of, and it went through a little bit of drama on the financing, and it dropped significantly. Its president stepped in and accumulated a few shares, and in the last couple of weeks, it's up almost 80%. Just through I think it shows favorably when management do such a thing or insiders do such a thing. So again, I'm not going to sit here and sort of say you guys gotta overextend yourself on it, but I do think in a small cap company, especially one that has had a little bit of issue, if there's an ability to kind of send a message and align yourself with shareholders, I think it's a good thing to do. But anyways, appreciate the shares that you have purchased. And
no. It's a fair point. I'm just, what I'm just trying to draw your attention to is that, the board and insiders create a ton of value outside of just this one data point. And what I'm saying is that I'm buying in the market and I'm committed to it. And I understand the symbolism, towards it. And I respect the request, for those things. What I'm trying to say is that, there's huge, swaths of benefit that we get from, our board and insiders that go well beyond that extend themselves into their personal networks and relationships. One of the areas on the long list of things that we're working on is just looking at stock-based compensation remuneration a little bit more kind of broadly, to be able to, to further incentivize our group. Like that exists in some instances, but I think it just needs to, we need to look at that a little bit more broadly. But for us and for me, I'm so committed to bringing this thing, to representative levels. And it's kind of wild when you sit down and you talk to people about the work you're doing, shareholders, some of these, the bankers and the brokers, and they're just like, my gosh, like you're just, their words, like this thing has such huge upside to it. This is tremendous. And what you've built is tremendous. And, for us, we want to deliver. I'm in the show me business here. I'm not in the talk. So
great.
Even though I know it's your business is to chat and talk, but I appreciate that. But,
we're called Talk Stocks. I guess we should be show me stocks. But anyways, all good. That's great. Hey, appreciate, Sasha, your time. What is a typical day sort of looking like for you? Maybe you could give people a vantage point into kind of a typical day. What's it looking like these days?
Yeah, because we cover off all time zones, it's usually, pretty early start, connecting with some of our different, businesses in the different countries, looking at the roster of meetings ahead, making sure that we've got the, the adequate, material and prep. But they're full and long days, a lot of conversations, a lot of time spent with our product teams, our sales teams, our unit leaders, really trying to draw together, and bring into concert all of these wonderful capabilities. A lot more stakeholder relations and conversations as of late, which have been fantastic. And I cram in a run in the morning just to be able to clear my head.
That's good. You look like you're a fit person, which is a good quality to have with to handle the pressure. So that's good.
Yeah. I always love that scene in Dumb and Dumber where Jim Carrey locks his wallet in the newspaper machine. And he's going into the store to exchange $1 to get change, and the old lady's in the cart, and he just turns to her and goes, "Don't you go dying on me." So I don't know if the board is
we can't have any more drama. Don't go dying on us.
I'm not, man. I'm not. I'm around.
That's good.
Look.
That's good. Hey, so one of the tricks to with a public company is having some news flow, having catalysts every time you put out a news release. Anybody who's a shareholder typically gets kind of like an alert. It gives an opportunity for you to consider whether you're happy with your position, if you should add more shares, things like that. It tends to more active news flow, more catalysts, can mean a more active sort of stock.
Sure.
In terms of the company, are you going to have sort of a commitment, or is there any sort of desire to maybe have a bit more sort of like ongoing sort of news flow?
Well, let me ask you, like, what do you want to hear about? I guess is more
Well,
the
I think
question.
we want to understand a little bit more about how your business units are kind of operating. Maybe I know you work with some customers and things that you can't sort of necessarily name, but maybe the type of opportunity or things like that. I think we just want to know, without having to just wait for quarterly financials, how things are kind of ticking along. You mentioned something about sort of like artificial intelligence for government. I think that's obviously a big space. As we've heard before, everybody's really worried about security. You can't really use Chat GPT in government because of lack of potential sort of security of data. I think that's all. We want to obviously know a bit more about those sorts of opportunities. But yeah, I'd say regular sort of updates in terms of whatever you can that indicates, so that we can look at the compass and say, yeah, we're headed in due north. This is we're still going the right way. I think that would be good. You got a pretty talented IR guy there, Glenn. You need to give him something to work with. Again, you don't want to put fluff out, but I think you certainly want to update people on sort of newsworthy things. Even if you can't necessarily name the business unit, you can sort of talk about, the generalities of whatever it is. But I think they want to know if things are sort of going well, and updates on things that you can sort of share. I think could go a long way to, again, getting investors excited. It's kind of like being at a movie, and it can be a long movie. If there's not something to keep you in the seat and keep you awake, you might want to leave. Well, as a public company, we've got lots of choice out there right now, and where we can put our dollars. And if things aren't working, we'll go somewhere else. So I think we need to see reasons for why things are working, so that we stay sort of as loyal shareholders. So anyways, that's a little bit from my perspective.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I mean, look, there's more than enough work products that we're executing against to source from, and I'll add it to the list of things to be doing. I know you called out Glenn and his innumerable talents as our IR guy, but he also kind of crapped on his website a little bit earlier. So I don't know. I don't know, Kira. I'm not sure where you stand on this one, but I'll, point taken on the news releases. Again, the more we can bring the business to the fore. Like, we're going to be on stage at Snowflake Summit, in June. We'll be launching that product soon, more formally. That's going to be pretty fantastic for us, and in a very, very exciting technology arena that's delivering, some serious value based off the kind of graph analytics technology we acquired as a part of the Affinio transaction. So that's coming up soon. I think our team was just down at a technology conference in Mexico, meeting with customers there, and showcasing some of the work product that we do there. There's innumerable examples of work that we do, and some of the stuff we can share, some of the stuff we can't share.
Gotcha.
But I look forward to again, we're in the show me business, so we gotta demonstrate the results, and that's what we're building it now is meaningful and is disciplined in the way in which that we're operating, and we're allocating our capital with diligence and appropriateness, and we're going to seize this prize in a manner that's going to kind of make the drama of the last earnings call fade to black right at the end of the end of that episode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, excellent. Hey, that's really about it there, Sasha. I think we covered a lot. I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy. Thanks for making some and actually giving us a little bit more than we thought we might get with you.
Of course.
So that's great. I think I feel a lot more comfortable about where things are at, and it's been a pleasure to meet you. Certainly hope maybe you can we can do a few more of these as you advance along sort of over the next couple of quarters, and we'll sort of you know, keep people abreast of updates and kind of what's going on. So I really appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Anything else before we hop and finish up, or are we pretty good?
No, just to say thanks and appreciate the opportunity. I mean, it's as you can imagine, that, you know, my time is got some competition for my time right there, and I want to be able to find ways in which to communicate with more folks that are in the stock or have been in the stock for a while. And, you know, I'm committed to delivering on the vision here, and the fundamentals of the businesses are super sound. We've got a lot of levers, you know, at our disposal, and really excited about the future. And I'm hoping that our shareholders will continue to support us in the way that they have historically, and we're going to do right by them. And, you know, those that reach out to me, I'm doing my best to get back to you in as quick a moment as possible, but appreciate this opportunity to at least have a conversation.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.